Good morning. I hope everybody is having a wonderful Sunday morning. Welcome to our second to last masterclass. So if you made it this far, congratulations. I hope you have a bunch more skills and interests and are ready to jump in and dive in on wherever the Lord might be calling you. So if you do happen to be new here this morning, we are doing a summer series of master classes where we bring in subject matter experts on different topics, kind of like one-off topics in the summer, and they give an overview of kind of their area, what they're passionate about, and we always end with the question, if there were 10 people in this audience that wanted to do what you're doing, how could they? So this class is more about you, the audience, than the teachers up here, because we want to help you find what you're passionate about, or if you are interested in something, we want to give you practical ways to get into that, go into that path. So we've done a lot of master classes this summer. I think they've all been pretty great. I'm a little biased since we designed the class, but I have gotten some feedback that seems to indicate that that is true. This week, we will have the masterclass here. I'll let Jesse introduce what we're doing this week. And then next week, we are going to have a masterclass on multilingual friendships, which we are pretty excited about, because I think that can have a lot of practical implications and practical wisdom that we can use in our own community here. After the masterclass series ends, in the fall, we will have 2 adult classes that you can choose from. I will be teaching a class called Is God Good?, where we will talk about all the easy questions of why is there pain and suffering in the world? What's up with hell? Why did God command a bunch of killing in the Old Testament? Very, very simple questions that we'll probably not use up the whole time with. And Dave Bland will be teaching on Proverbs, which again is a very simple concept. I think that he will take 3 classes and we'll probably just sit around for the rest of the class. So if you're interested, those are the 2 classes coming up. We're still working on a little bit of the details because coordination is not technically my strong point. So we're working on it and it'll be great.
So today we're doing something a little bit different, as you can see. We've got a panel up here, and we're going to be discussing children's Bible classes. Did anybody notice that there's no screaming kids in here? There's no kids running around. For the most part, probably no one's holding a kid in their lap, and it's because people volunteer to keep our kids and teach our kids the wisdom from the Bible, and that's a gift, and it's a gift that we personally receive every Sunday and every Wednesday. And this is an important ministry, and it's kind of like tucked away. We're not even seeing it happen right now, but it's happening right now. Our kids are in classrooms being poured into by these volunteers. And so we have 3 people up here this morning with experience in this gift. And so we're going to hear from them today about children's Bible class time. So we're going to be up here interviewing them, and that's how we're going to do this. All right, let's get started. Let's get a napkin. Okay. You get started.
It was actually pretty great because you kicked the cup and it didn't fall over and just splashed a little bit. All right, so we're going to start out with a simple, easy question of please say who you are, how long you've been at White Station, and how long you've been teaching, and how did you get out of class to be here at 9:45?
We do not have high tech in the nursery, okay? I'm Diane Collins. I have been here since the fall of 1979. Jerry and I were married in 1980. The fall of 1979, Anita Smith asked me to be a helper in a Bible class with Gail Mickey. Those were 4-year-olds. I've never taught higher than 4. And so I've gone from 4 to 3 to 2, and now I'm in the nursery. And it is important to teach our children to come to Bible class, even when they're babies. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, I'm sure, later.
I'm LawreNell Pope, and I came to White Station in 2007 from Highland. And I thought about the other day, I started teaching Bible school in 1965. And I've taught a long time, but there have been a couple of 3 years off, but I've pretty well taught some sort of Bible school or substituted all those many years. And that was in high school when I started. I was a teacher by trade, but I was one of those teachers who said, so many of my friends were, I teach 5 days a week. I couldn't stand it. How can you do it? And I was like, how can I not do it? How can I not use what I have and pour out to those poor children who, you know, want them to have something good in Bible school, not just in regular school. So that's why I keep on doing what I do.
And I'm a little confused because when Diane recruited me to be on this panel, she said it was a master class on fishing. So I may be here a week early or something.
We can definitely talk about fishing. I get that.
So I started teaching 5th and 6th graders on Wednesday nights when I was a freshman in college. I was 17 years old, and my co-teacher was Mark Campbell's dad, Jack Campbell, and I did that all through college. And then when my college days were over, I got a job that was out of town, so that ended teaching until Ronnie Copeland's sister, Gina Cummings, when I was 27 years old, talked me into coming back to the 5th and 6th graders, and then I did that for 25 plus years after that.
Amazing, thank you. Just a quick question. Do any of you happen to know how many teachers it takes to run the 9:45 class on Sundays and Wednesdays?
It takes at least 2 per class, if not more.
Okay, how many classes do you think we
And
have?
4, okay, so it's at least 8, plus if you have a lot of kids, you're going to need a runner. The nursery takes at least 2. When we split the nursery, it takes at least 4, if not more, when we have chronic babies. And it's every Sunday, every Sunday.
So if you keeping count, that's between somewhere between 16 and 24 teachers. So that's a lot of people on Sunday morning, right?
This is not youth group or anything. This is strictly elementary.
Elementary only, okay, all right, so, and Wednesdays is the same, essentially, yes?
Bonnie has Wednesday structured a little different, but it still takes quite a bit.
About 20, averaging, not 20, a little less, someone's counting.
Gordon says it takes 8
Gordon says
on
8.
Wednesday night.
Okay, whatever amount it takes it every time. Every time we're here and we have the kids' classes, there are people volunteering, right? And do you think this is an ongoing thing? Like, we constantly need teachers, we need people in this role all the time, volunteering for this? Substitutes?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
That's every now and then, I take off in the summers, and so that's why I'm here today. Cecilia has picked up my class, and so I'll be back, I guess, in the fall or winter, whichever one she decides to do. But yes, plus there's nursery workers during worship time, which is very ongoing.
Right,
So
so
that's at least 4 people every time we have church.
every Sunday.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunity here. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to start off with kind of a personal question that could be inspiring, hopefully. Why is teaching a children's class important to you?
All right, I'll start, because thank you for giving us questions not at the beginning, so we have to think out of things. Ever since I was young, I always enjoyed, I babysat. I used to babysit for 50 cents an hour, and Right over there is one of my young charges that I had. Young Brian Jones, I know you said him. It was something I found I could do and I had a gift for. And so I started teaching kindergarten with Memphis City Schools right out of college, and that was kind of an eye-opening thing. But before that, I had already been teaching in Bible school and sort of had a little inkling of what to do, how to use flannel graph, and I would use that in my classroom. But it's just always been something that I've enjoyed for the most part. I've taught children of a lot of the people in here in Bible class or in school, and in school I didn't get any higher than kindergarten, so. But I am up to kindergarten, first grade now I'm teaching, so I'm passing some. But it's just been a special place in my heart.
I grew up in a church, and both of my parents are educators, and my church was very into, of course, Bible class. And every Saturday night, you got out your Bible class workbook, and your parents got out the book for their class, and we all did our lesson. Y'all remember the right fill in the answer books? And they got ready to teach their classes, and my brother and I got ready to go to our class. But teaching younger people is something that I truly think that we're called to do. The Bible says that the younger ones need to learn from the older ones. And I'm not an old one, I don't know. But when I was in junior high, a mother and daughter team asked me if I would be their helper on Wednesday night. And I was so thrilled that they thought I could help them, because I had them in class. And that got me excited. I saw how you prepared a lesson, how you did the little handouts. And when Anita Smith asked me to be a helper here, I said yes. Little did I know that you could never say no again. But I feel like it's important. And now that I'm in the nursery, one of my jobs is to help young mothers. Do y'all know the hardest thing in the world to do is for a mother to leave her baby for the very first time in a nursery with these grown-ups who they don't really know. And it's important that these mothers and dads go to Bible class. The anguish and the tears of the parents, not only their children, but I want to be there to reassure them that Bible class is important. And you may not think your babies are learning, but they are. And we teach class. We have all the toys. We have all the songs. We can really entertain. If you've never been in one of our classes, you have no clue. But having children come young, it's important. We don't do handwork. They can't tell you the story. But it's important that they start out knowing that we go to Bible class. We're here to learn about God. And in the nursery, our key phrases are, God made me, God loves me. And we impart that through all of our songs and all of our little puppets and everything else. Right now, Jan is in there doing the lesson. I will have to say, Lainey Turner, some of you may know Lainey. She's one of our young girls. She decided that's where she wanted her ministry to be, and she asked Jan if she could come and be in the nursery with us. Well, we couldn't say yes fast enough. And she is learning, she's teaching the lesson, and I'm so excited because she got excited. And because one day, y'all are going to walk in that nursery, you're going to find me and Jan just flat out on the floor. And somebody's going to have to do it. And I'm thrilled that Lainey has decided this is something she wants to do for God and to work with the young people. And the babies, we love them so much. I don't think you know how hard it was for me to see my babies go to the official 3-year-old class this morning. And the fact that I know that I have taught them and that they heard it, that they know it. And that's what keeps me going every single Sunday in Bible class.
So 5th and 6th graders is a little different because that's a really fun age group. And they and I are on the same intellectual level. And particularly on Wednesday nights, it's hard for families to come to church sometimes. You know, the kids have had a long day at school, the parents have been working all day. Man, why don't we just not come on Wednesday night? So one of my goals was for the kids not to dread coming to Wednesday night class. I wanted the kids to love to come into Wednesday night class so much that they would drag their parents to church even when their parents were tired and didn't want to come. And that was my strategy, and we had a lot of fun. Let's get across a few biblical concepts every night, but let's make sure we have fun and the kids really enjoy and get in the habit of coming to class.
What is your Bible school teaching heritage family tree? I feel like we've all addressed this. So then I'll lead with this next question. What led you to teaching and who taught you to teach? Who taught you to teach?
I worked with a lot of different women, and even today, I don't think I do enough. It's like, am I doing this right? And I've done this for 50 years. But you look at somebody, I remember from Highland, Ellen Stalka, who would write out her lesson plans, word for word, everything she needed. And I worked with her for a short amount of time, and it was just like, wow, she puts her entire self into this. And then I would see other women who could come in and on the fly just teach a class. And it's, you just learn a little bit from everybody. You just kind of pick things up. And I've just always gone to Bible school, and I've had some very, very boring teachers. And I decided I was not going to be that person. So I try to have fun in my class. We act silly, we do crazy things, but we do have a biblical message, and we try to get that instilled in the children every time. And I hope for the most part they enjoy coming. Sometimes we have snacks and sometimes we don't. You know, it's not just the food they're coming for.
Of course, in the nursery, we always have Cheerios, just letting you know. But the last box of Cheerios that I got, I do have to tell y'all this, it had heart-shaped Cheerios and circle Cheerios. Well, I didn't realize it had heart shapes. The kids pointed all of that out. And all of a sudden, it dawned on me that I could use that. And I just said, okay, the heart means love. Jesus loves you. The circle means his love is never ending. And so for the last 3 or 4 months, we have eaten Cheerios and done that little scenario over and over and over. So I was grateful that I figured out we had hearts in the Cheerios. But I guess, because both of my parents were educators, I will have to say my mother was an amazing woman, and I learned pretty much everything from her. She was almost perfect. But she knew child development. She knew how to teach. I learned that. That's what she taught me growing up. Then, of course, I trained to be a teacher. I trained to be an instrumental music teacher. So I taught violin, viola, and cello in the public schools for 5 years. And you have to go with the flow. And that's probably why I work so well in the nursery. It's because plan A never makes it. But that I had a lot of great mentors here at church when I came to teach Bible school. Y'all probably don't know Gail Mickey. That was Shirley's sister-in-law. She had passed away. But she was great to work with. I watched Shirley Mickey and a lot of women, Shirley Lane, Ann McElwain, there's a lot of women that I have watched and how they deal with children and how they teach those children. And you learn, those women taught me things. And I'm grateful that I was around all of those. And the kids teach you things. Do y'all remember Fred and Gloria Phillips' daughter, Victoria? Okay, who was very smart. She's a doctor now, I think. Well, Danita Barnes and I had her in the 2-year-old class. Well, she could teach that class. But she loved to see us be the elephants on Noah's Ark. And every week, Danita and I had to act out being an elephant, and she just thought that was hysterically funny. That two grown women would be parading around doing elephant thing. So, but the kids do teach you. Hank teaches us. You know, Britton teaches us. All of them teach us something. One Sunday I had made up a little song and I was singing it, and Britton was like, I already know that. Good. And because they do. They do. And so then you have to up your game. But being with, but watching how other teachers have taught, and the ones that have done their due, and they're not teaching now. But yes, they are, because their legacy lives on, and there's so many women in this church that I have learned from since I came here. And I'm grateful for them, and I love being in the nursery every Sunday.
So for you old-timers, when I was a kid, the most memorable teachers were Sarah Brewer and Helen Douglas. When I got to 6th and 7th grade, it was Jay and Ruth Ritchie. Okay, those are people I learned from. When I got a little older, it was Steve Holt when I was college age. Those are folks that really stand out to me as being people that taught me how to teach.
So when we think about the idea of starting teaching and getting people interested in teaching, I think probably one of the biggest barriers is fear or the feeling of inadequacy. So our question to you is, when you first began to teach, was there anything that you were anxious about or didn't think you could do? And did you have that fear when you started? And if so, how did you overcome that fear? Or how would you alleviate that if you were talking to somebody who just thought that they couldn't teach?
Or even if you already stepped into teaching, but then you reached a hurdle, how did you overcome that?
Okay, one of the worst things was the curriculum when I started. Back in the 60s and 70s, it was boring. It was horrible. But now, the curriculum that we have is actually really good. So a brand new person could come in the classroom, it tells you what to say, it gives you great ideas for fun centers, activities, and it tells you ways to kind of go with it. So it's kind of gotten a whole lot easier now to teach than it was in the past. In the past, you had to really dig up things to find something you could do to talk about whatever the subject was, but it's gotten to be a whole lot better. Another problem that people look at is discipline. Okay, and kids are not going to sit there and do what you want them to do. That's why it helps to have that second person in there. We had a little boy this past year who was a runner, and he was first first grader, so he's a little bit older, but, so we at all times had to have somebody in the classroom who would just kind of work with this child, be there, kind of shadow him, kind of have their hand on his back. And it wasn't hard when you had somebody in there with you. It was when it was just me one time and then somebody came in and helped. But the discipline is the problem. You can always talk to parents. They don't like to hear it, but I didn't love to hear it either when I had children that problem. But for the most part, parents are back you up. And I think discipline is the hardest thing that people look at now when they come in and they think, I can't do this with all these kids. But remember, you're bigger than they are, so you can still win.
That's why when you teach the nursery, they can't talk back. I will say that a lot of people are very, very anxious about working with young children because they're not sure they know what to do. Well, if you've ever had a baby or held a baby, you know what to do. And there's, all the cups change. They get new cups all the time, and it's a learning curve for us to figure out how the cups work. Things have changed. We don't heat formula in a microwave anymore. I mean, things are changing, and we just have to sort of go with the flow. And we are not a daycare, and we have to try to impart that to some parents, because we are not going to keep your child on their strict schedule. This is Bible class, and Bible class is different. But I would say that if you just come in and just watch the kids and play with them, who does not love to play Lego? Okay, it's great. Our baby dolls. Okay, it's so easy. It's just play. It's just like you play with your kids or your nieces or nephews, and the kids, even when they cry. I mean, how many of us had a baby that never cried? Okay, nobody. So we're all used to that. Okay, we're all used to that. And trust me, I taught beginner violin. If I can handle that, I can handle a crying baby. So there's really no fear because there are people in there who will help you, and I think it's easy. Plus the fact it's the best class in church. Okay, it's the best class in church.
So the best class in church is the 5th and 6th graders. And the big problem with 5th and 6th graders is classroom discipline. And that can scare you. And I can remember when I was teaching Wednesday nights, I was 18, 19 years old, and Ronnie Copeland was really involved with the bus program, and we were busing in loads of kids into campus. And we used to teach in that old building called the Annex that we tore down about 18 years ago. It was a hallway with the 4 or 5 rooms on either side of the hallway, and there were little bitty rooms. And one Wednesday night, I had 50 kids in one of those little rooms. Classroom discipline is a challenge. Over the years, I developed a system, a point system, and I would give them points for attendance. I would give them points for bringing their Bible. I would give them points for answering the question correctly. I would give them negative points if they misbehaved. And the points at the end of the quarter would turn into dollars, and we would have an outing every quarter, and they could use those dollars at Al's Golf Dome or Midnight Bowling or whatever. But there's still a few kids out there that had so many negative points, they still owe me money.
But they truly did work for those outings. I will have to say, the majority of them did work for those outings.
I'm sure they did. Tell me a moment when you saw a kid do or say something that made you think, I'm doing something right.
Well, when you see a 5-year-old a few days later turn to their sibling and do some of the things that you did in class, you know, some of the sort of work with them that way. That's when you think, okay, they're getting it, they're getting it.
Well, sometimes it's hard to tell when they're young, but eventually there will be one child who wants to be the teacher. And that child knows everybody's cups. She knows where to go get those cups. She gets them on the table. If another child is not sitting right, she will go and push their chair up. And even though she got out of her chair to do that, but you can tell when they start learning there's a pattern. It's time for Bible class. If someone throws the Bible, you've always got that one who's going to go pick it up and put it and say no. So they do learn, and it's just really adorable to watch them as they grow, and when they go from the nursery to the threes, and that 2-year-old turning 3, there's such a huge amount of learning that takes place, and that's fun to watch.
So Bonnie and Reggie Jamerson have a son named Justin. Justin, as a 5th and 6th grader, one of the funniest kids I've ever met. And so one day I stopped Reggie Jamerson in the hall, and I said, Reggie, Justin is hilarious. He could be a stand-up comic. And Reggie looked at me and said, what are you talking about? He's not funny. I've never heard him say anything funny. I said, I promise you, Reggie, he's a funny, funny kid. And years later, we keep in contact with Justin. And years later, Justin said, Mr. Collins, your Wednesday night class is the best Bible class I ever had. That's when you know you're doing something right.
That's beautiful, truly. So we are going to end with our practical question, but before we do that, we just wanted to give you a chance to, I'm sure our questions don't span the gamut of what you want to talk about. So is there anything that we missed that you would like to say to this audience before we get to our practical question?
Well, to the ones who have worked in the nursery, I say thank you. And if you want to work in the nursery, then I thank you for thinking that thought.
I'd like to encourage any of the men. These little boys need, some of them do not have a male figure in their home, and they really need somebody
With a voice like this to say, sit down.
instead of this, sit down. And I think there are a lot of dads out there who can just come in. You don't have to do a lot of prep. You just kind of go and kind of be, and I think that would be a great thing.
I've mentioned Ronnie Copeland's name several times. I apologize, Ronnie. Once when I was teaching in the annex, I had this kid who was really a big kid, and he was hyperactive. I won't tell you what his name is. And in the annex, we had these real tall windows, like floor to ceiling, and the only way they would open was down at the bottom, and they would fold out. Well, I was teaching class, and I looked, and this big kid is climbing out that window, all right? And I'm hollering at him, get back in here, get back in here. Well, he paid no attention. He climbed out that window and disappeared. About that time, Ronnie Copeland opened the door. This just kind of tells you how teaching is sort of like fishing, okay? Ronnie opens the door, and he's like going from class to count how many kids are there. And Ronnie says, you have a nice group of kids in this class. I said, yeah, but you should have seen the one that got away.
I'm not even sure I can ask this question now. Okay, so we have like 3 minutes left. Let's say there are 10 people in this audience that want to get started or want to get involved teaching, but they just don't know how. What are the practical next steps that they should do? Who do they talk to? What should they do?
They, first of all, make a call or an email to Bonnie Jamerson, and she gets them set up with all the protocols that are in place for our child protection policy. And then, once all of that is done, you come to one of us, or Bonnie will assign you somebody. If you want to work in the nursery, you just come to me, and then I'll get you set up. The church nursery during worship, I believe Shana Efall is doing that, and so then you would need to contact Shana. But Bonnie is your first contact because she and Paula do all the paperwork stuff.
You do have to take a little online course for child safety, but you know, in this day and age, we have to. We just don't want anything to happen. But other than that, just go to Bonnie.
There's is beyond the course, is there also like a background check too?
Yes, I think
Okay.
so. It's not too bad.
Yeah, Gordon says yes. Okay, well, we just want to thank you so much for agreeing to be on this panel, and honestly for teaching our kids. And it's as Jesse said, it's been a big help to us personally, and I'm sure everybody who's come through that class. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm sure everybody, if somebody wants to do it and they forget the names of who they should go to, Bonnie's right down the hall, and you can probably just ask anybody in person, they'll give you the names again. So,
Can direct you.
Gordon's our fact checker back there, so he has all the information. So, thank you.